What's going on, guys? So in the last video that I did, we watched Kyle Kulinski of Secular Talk utterly dismantle Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire on one of Piers Morgan's debate panels, and I ended the segment by talking about how this is the ideology that we're up against on the right. This is the level of intellectualism that we're up against on the right. They support things like bombing Venezuela and stealing their leader and stealing their resources. They support things like ICE going into American cities and shooting protesters in the face and shooting people with tear gas and flashbangs and pepper spray. They support giving tax cuts to billionaires. Literally none of this is popular with the American people writ large. But fear not, because the Democrats are experts at snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. So I'm going to get into the polling on how the American people feel about ICE, and then I'm going to get into the reaction of some of the Democrats when asked about, the funding that's coming up, because they have to make a budget. They have to vote on how much money ICE is going to get, and I'll just spoil it ahead. Their response is really not good. So before we do, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that jazz. Click the bell so you get a notification whenever I drop a video. And let's start here with Lawrence O'Donnell on how the American people feel about ICE.
Donald Trump and the section of his brain called Stephen Miller believe that America wants a violent crackdown on Americans, but polls prove they are wrong. A new CNN poll shows that only 26% of Americans say the killing of Renee Good last week by ICE agent Jonathan Ross was an appropriate use of force. Only 26% think what Donald Trump and James David Vance are telling them to think about that killing. A substantial majority thinks the killing of Renee Good was an inappropriate use of force. 51% say that the killing of Renee Good reflects bigger problems with the way that ICE is operating. A majority of Americans say that ICE enforcement actions are making the country less safe. 51% say that ICE enforcement actions are making cities less safe. Only 31% think that ICE enforcement actions are making cities safer, as Donald Trump insists. And so Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, with congressional elections approaching, are appealing to 26% of voters when they defend the killing of Renee Good. Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, and the Republicans have 31% support in America for the ICE invasion of our cities. The delusional 79-year-old man in the White House who now believes he is the acting president of Venezuela does not have the support of his own country for the invasion of Venezuela, and he does not have the support of this country for his invasion of Minneapolis or any other American city.
Okay, so in short, everybody thinks that what ICE is doing is completely unwarranted and it's not making us safer. And I think the important number in there is that 26% of people who actually support what ICE is doing. And I've been saying for a little while, I think that the real base of Trump's support, like the actual number of people in the country that would support him, is somewhere between like 25 and 35%. And we got to remember now, Trump's approval rating currently is at like 36%. He's at an all-time low outside of, when the polling came out after January 6th. But I really think this is the high watermark for his presidency moving forward, because nothing he has done is stuff that people actually support, whether you're talking about like invading American cities or talking about invading Greenland or Mexico or bombing Iran or bombing Somalia or giving tax breaks to billionaires or building a billionaire ballroom, cutting people's health care, cutting people's ACA subsidies, making it so that like millions of people lost their health care and millions more can now not afford it. I really do think that this 36% is going to be like the high water mark for Trump moving forward. But with that said, the Democrats who run the party, I'm talking about Chuck Schumer, I'm talking about Hakeem Jeffries, I'm talking about people in leadership, cannot come out and say the obvious thing that everybody in the country wants to hear, which is we have to get rid of ICE, we have to abolish ICE, we're not going to fund it, no ifs, ands, or buts. The first Democrat who says abolish ICE, fuck everything that Trump is doing. We have to fight it with every ounce of our power. And those people are going to win in a landslide in 2026. But this is how the leadership of the party reacts. Here, take a look at Hakeem Jeffries when asked a question about ICE.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Over the weekend, we saw congressional appropriators release another slate of bills that did not include DHS funding. Is it your understanding that there will need to be a continuing resolution for DHS, or is it your posture and the posture of Democrats to try to put some more restrictions on ICE as a condition for funding for the agency, given the situation in Minneapolis?
Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security, and ICE, they're totally out of control. And the American people want these extremists to be reined in. And what's in front of us right now is a spending bill that will go either one of two ways. Either Republicans will continue their my way or the highway approach as it relates to the Homeland Security bill, and if that happens, then it's going to be on them to figure out a path forward. Alternatively, particularly in the face of the tragedy, Renee Nicole Good should be alive today. There was no justification for that killing. That ICE agent and Kristi Noem, they've shown depraved indifference toward human life. That's what we saw. That's what the American people saw. And so clearly there's some common sense measures that need to be put in place so that ICE can conduct itself in a manner that is at least consistent with every other law enforcement agency in the United States of America.
This is pitiful what he's talking about. Like, and I despise the he's trying to do that Barack Obama cadence where he like pauses for a really long time so that he can like let the point settle in, and it just doesn't work. It looks really, really faked and rehearsed, but all I need from Democratic leadership is to just say the obvious thing, which is like, we have to abolish ICE. We don't need ICE. We already had the Border Patrol. I'm older than ICE. ICE was established during the Bush administration. And so the fact that they now have a budget that's over $100 billion, I'm talking about their budget is larger than most militaries around the world. Their budget is larger than the United States Marine Corps. And I can't even believe this because, like, while we're talking about it, Trump is asking for $1.5 trillion for defense next year over the trillion that he got last year. So we're talking about a 50% increase in the U.S. military budget. This is money that could go to healthcare. This is money that could go to rebuilding infrastructure. This is money that could go to alleviating student loan debt. This is money that could go to free childcare, paid sick time by law, paid parental leave by law. Like, there's so many other things that we could do with the money. And they're asking for another $500 billion for Trump's fucking military. And a giant chunk of that is going to go to ICE with fucking, like, Heinrich Himmler himself, Greg Bovino, as he trots around in a trench coat. He literally is wearing like an SS, like a Nazi SS replica trench coat. And they're like, well, we're going to have to see. We need to have more accountability. I mean, look at this shit from Cory Booker, where he's talking about ICE.
Must do more. The tragic death of Renee Good has brought into clear spotlight so many of the things the Trump administration is doing to make our communities less safe. But one of the most alarming crises are issues of training and accountability standards for ICE officers. I'm continuing to lead new legislation that will bring further high professional standards and accountability to ICE officials.
More training? More accountability? No. Get rid of it. It's unnecessary as it is. But also, there is no accountability with ICE. They're all wearing masks for a reason. And the thing is that, like, the people at the top, I'm talking about Stephen Miller, I'm talking about Kristi Noem, I'm talking about Donald Trump, the way that they respond to ICE shooting an American in the face, a young mother of 3 who was not doing anything wrong, And before her body was even cold, they were calling her a domestic terrorist. The way that they respond gives a permission structure to these guys in ICE to be as brutal as they fucking want, because the people at the top are saying, hey, don't worry, we got your back. I mean, like, they're going to try and block the state of Minnesota from investigating the shooting. The whole thing about training, this is so ridiculous, is that, like, he had been in ICE for a little while. Like, he was kind of a veteran, and my understanding is he was like a firearms instructor too. So what are we talking about? Like, more training? This is rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. We need to get rid of it. There's so many better things that we could spend our money on besides $100 billion on ICE or however much it is that they're trying to get for next year. Like, there's so many things that would legit make the country better. Like, the whole thing with Trump and the border is the southern border. And if we're talking about, like, immigrant populations, look at places like Southern California, Arizona, Texas, all of these states, New Mexico, right? Like, these states have a ton of immigrants, if that's what you're literally worried about, like illegal immigrants. But Minnesota is their dry run. This is ICE's dry run to see exactly how much they can get away with, because they're going to start doing this in other places too. But the other places where they're going to do this is not going to be in a ruby red state like Alabama, for example. No, they're going to go to states that are largely Democratic, and they're going to try and pull this shit, because if they start riling up people and they're protesting in the streets, it gives Trump a little bit more of a reason to, because he's been toying with this idea of, well, I could invoke the Insurrection Act, and if the people are violent, maybe we just don't have elections. Like, that's what they're setting the groundwork for. And the Democrats have got to do better. They have to come out and say, look, we have to abolish ICE. We have to stop Trump from doing this shit. Nobody feels safer. This is not helping the country to be better. It's making everyone worse. People are afraid to leave their own home. Like, my wife has a family that lives in Minnesota. Like, a bunch of her cousins live in Minnesota, and they have people in their neighborhood who said they're on lockdown in their house, and they get their neighbors, their white neighbors, to go out and go grocery shopping and stuff for them, because they're afraid that if they go out driving around, they're going to get stopped and ripped out of their car and handcuffed and get the shit beaten out of them, because we've already seen the video of them do that countless times. They've shot kids with tear gas. They kidnapped a teenager and stole his phone and beat the shit out of him. Like, the stories are endless. These guys are a rogue thug regime of fucking white nationalists, racists, Proud Boys, neo-Nazis, with people saying, like, well, we just need to make sure that we're training them more, and we need to have more background checks. And it's like, that's not going to fix it, because the people that are not background checked are already in ICE, and we don't know their name, and we don't know who they are because they cover their face, and their anonymity is kept by the state, by the Trump regime, because they don't want people to know who these guys are. So, God damn it. I mean, like, I just want a giant wave of Democrats to come out and say the obvious thing, which is absolutely not, we will not fund ICE at all. We're going to shut the government down, even though they folded on the last time. I mean, like I said, my hopes are not up. They folded on healthcare subsidies for the American people, and now millions of people lost their healthcare and don't have healthcare subsidies, so they can't afford their healthcare. I think Chucky the Shoe will absolutely fold to the Republicans again on the ICE funding. And the important thing to remember is that, like, if the Democrats decide no, the Republicans need at least 60 votes to overturn that, and they don't have that. So this is super important to remember. They do not have the votes without Democrats. So the Democrats have got to hold the fucking line and say, absolutely not. We are not funding this terrorist organization that is literally attacking American citizens. They're not just going after immigrants. They're attacking Americans. And none of the places where these ICE operations are taking place, the people there, nobody wants them there. The mayors, the governors, the people in those cities, nobody fucking wants them there. Call your representative, tell them to vote no on ICE. Call them and tell them to vote no on ICE. They cannot fund this shit again because it's only going to get worse. And if we don't start fighting back, the Republicans are going to continue because that's what they do. Oh, there's been no pushback on this? I guess I'll do it further, right? Like, the Democrats should have impeached Trump 1,000,000 times by now. He's invaded Venezuela and stolen the leader. And the Democrats didn't push back at all, even though that's totally fucking illegal under U.S. law and international law. So what is he doing now? He's toying with the idea of taking Greenland. He's toying with the idea of invading Mexico. He's talking about doing this in other countries. You cannot give these fuckers an inch. You can't give them an inch. Anyway, rant over. Make sure if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, call your representative, tell them to vote no. I don't care if there's a government shutdown again. If you stand for nothing, you will fall for anything. And right now, the Democrats have lost twice, 2 times, to a bloated, fat, dementia-ridden, pedophile, war criminal whale carcass. And he's easily one of the dumbest people that's ever run the country. And the Democrats can't seem to beat him. And it's because the leadership of the Democratic Party, I'm talking about Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, are a bunch of weak, mealy-mouthed centrists who are shit scared that the Republicans are going to say that they're soft on crime and they're for open borders, that they cannot speak with moral clarity about an organization, a terrorist organization, that literally less than 1/3 of the country supports and thinks that they're doing a good job. All right, guys, that's all I got. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, click the bell so you get a notification the next time I drop a video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.